Scream and shout and let it out.
It is the Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. Crystal Hodges is about to join us. Oh, there she is. Hi, Crystal. How are you? We are live on Starcom Radio Network. It's the Ed Tyll Show. How are you doing this day?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm excited about our talk here. I remember meeting you and saying this is going to be a good interview because I think after Mikhail Gorbachev, I have not really paid attention to what's called the port wine stain birthmark. Yours is right on your, I guess, left cheek. Is that your left cheek?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you're 24, and you're a gal, and you're living, you know, in a world that's very beauty-oriented, etc. And right away, I saw in you, you figured this out. You got it. You are happy. You're beautiful. And I was very, very impressed with that. So let's begin. When you were a kid, what was the earliest memory you have of your understanding of, Mommy, what is this that I have on my face?
That's a great question. You know, I don't actually remember ever questioning it. My parents, they knew I was born physically different, and for a while they were really concerned that, you know, I would be antisocial, that I would hide away. But they were like, you know what, we're just going to treat her like every other kid, and like she's a kid. And so, yeah, I don't really have a memory of asking my mom, like, what is this? So I never went, from what I remember, I never went through that phase.
Right. Now, at some point, it must have been not only explained, but you were able to look up yourself. This is something that is not maybe very common, but it's certainly not unheard of. It's been around. What is it now that you can explain to our listeners? What is the port wine stain birthmark? What is that, and how does it occur?
So basically, a lot of people assume it's a skin pigmentation issue, but it's not. It actually goes much deeper than that, depending on situation to situation. It's caused by extra blood flow and large blood vessels, and my birthmark travels all the way to my brain, and it can cause migraines, and I have glaucoma, which means I have to do eye drops twice a day to make sure I don't go blind. And so, it's in 3 in 1,000 people, and it's caused by a gene mutation, which they just discovered, I think, 3 years ago. So they're doing more and more research. Now that they know the cause, they can actually find a way to help people in better ways.
Extraordinary. That really is. It's remarkable. Now, is there anything else that goes with it? You did mention the migraines. Is there anything else that is symptomatic about it that we would, better understand?
So it depends. Again, it depends situation to situation. So when it affects the eye and the brain, there's a syndrome called Sturge-Weber syndrome, which is even more rare when people have port wine stains. And so in that situation, people have migraines, they have glaucoma. But I've heard from parents who have said that they were told that their child will never walk or will never talk. A lot of kids have to have brain surgery sometimes, depending on what's happening.
Wow.
And so it just is situational. But for me, I just get the migraines and glaucoma. But it can also grow outwards. So I have laser treatments every 2 to 4 months, and it lightens the birthmark overall. But that makes me sad because I love the coloring of my birthmark. But it if I don't have the treatments, my birthmark can grow and cause other medical complications as well from the outside perspective.
So you got to keep it in check along the way. But I love what you just said, and I did pick this up when we met in person. You do love this. This is a part of you, and if people, when they get a hold of your book, The Face That Went Viral, Beyond the Stain, when they see that book and they see pictures of you, and by the way, I'm going to let people know how to get to your blog, and they can jump in with you there as well. You are beautiful with it. It does remarkably color your appearance, and my hat is off to you. You must have been raised right. There must be something really good inside there because you were able to love it. And for you to be able to love it, I think, is the best part of it altogether. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be hurt by it. You want to keep checking on it and, watching it. But it does make you the individual that you are, right?
Yeah, no, it totally does. It actually, I have jokes. Like, I have birthmark jokes. Like, I don't wear certain colors because they clash with my face. And, like, that, you know, as a girl, you have to color coordinate. So there are colors that are not in my wardrobe. And so I have fun with it. Like, it's a serious thing sometimes, but I do my best to have fun with it and to make jokes, and, you know, it's part of who I am.
Oh, absolutely. But I think what comes across immediately when people meet you is that you emanate this a good vibe. We can feel that you're not at war with yourself. You're actually in love with what makes you different.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. You know, it's been an interesting journey because, like, I got turned into a meme, and I never questioned my appearance, like, before that. And so when I was a kid, I remember this one time because people stare and they make comments. And my mom, I think, played a huge part in shaping who I am today. And she said, you know, this man over there, he's staring, he's being rude, it's awkward. But, you know, what if you look at them and you smile instead of staring back or being rude? Like, what if you smile? Because they could be having the worst day of their life, and you might be the only person who gives them a smile today or even all week. So what if you try to change that person's life, even though it's starting in a weird, awkward situation? Right. And so I think that helped me look for the positive. And even through the rough stuff, like, I started to look for little lovely things and just, you know, the positive in every situation.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm starting to love your mom, too. So that's between the two of you, you really are a powerful force. So it's not easy to write a book. It's certainly, you know, a lot of people have tried. Many have given up. You've done it. You're successful at it. Did you struggle with the writing part, or did the writing part come easier once you were ready to tell it?
So I'm actually still in the process of finishing the writing part. It took me a while to come up with a timeline of, like, how to arrange my book because it's a life experience, and so what's relevant, what's not. But I think my biggest struggle was, and I even did a blog entry about this, where, you know, to write a book you have to be vulnerable. And for me, I've never minded being vulnerable with an audience, but really when you're writing a book, you're by yourself with your computer, and you have to go back to these moments that weren't always beautiful, like, they, you know, that hurt. And so you're not just being vulnerable with your audience, you're going back and being vulnerable with yourself. And, like, you know, you still learn about your story as you write a book. Like, there's so much about my story I've been learning as I've been finishing this book. So it's been an incredible experience and definitely stretching, and I've definitely grown. And yeah, it's hard, but it's wonderful at the same time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I hear you loud and clear on that. Tell us some of the things that jumped out at you only because you chose to write it. Did those thoughts come to you? Did those revelations occur?
Yeah, so it's called A Port Wine Stain, and my friend actually wrote a song about my birthmark, and it's called Beyond the Stain. And so I have a book, or a chapter in my book about stains, because most people, I've realized, feel stained internally. Whether it's from, like, a regret or a mistake or a relationship, and they feel when they see certain people, those people stare at them because of that mistake, and that's all they see. And so while I have an external stain, most people are internally stained. And I realized as I was writing this book, like, I'm always talking about other people having internal stains, and I'm always focusing on my outward appearance. But I forget, wait, I have internal stains too. And so I was able to take the chapter so much deeper and take it to a place I didn't expect it to go because, you know, I've been focusing so much on my appearance. I forgot, wait, what's inside of me? And so that was definitely a big, like, whoa moment for me.
That's awesome. Hey, will you do a favor for an older gentleman, me, and you're a young blogger? You used the term a moment ago, and it's been used a lot in front of me. And I'm going to admit, I've never said out loud, I don't know what that means. Could somebody tell me what? Because you know how sometimes we're like that. We just want to wait till we figure it out. What is a meme?
Okay, so a lot of people will, when I say grumpy cat, a lot of people register grumpy cat. It's this cat who looks super grumpy, and, like, one of them says, you know, I tried smiling today, and it was awful. And so it's when people basically take a picture and they add text to it, whether mine was, like, one of those one like equals beautiful memes that somebody turned me into. And so then there's some of grumpy cat, there's there's this kid in one meme who looks really, really impatient, and he's like, oh, I'm just waiting for my mom. Like, I just want to go eat lunch after church today. And so it's people's interpretations of an image that go viral.
Excellent. Oh, and you're a good teacher, because I think I got that solid now. All right, so
thanks.
You're a girl. Okay, girls love makeup and hair and all of this. You said before your clothing selections might actually tie into your birthmark. What about makeup and hair? Were tempted at some point to obscure it a little bit, or do you actually incorporate the stain in how you do your makeup on a given day?
Okay, so that actually varies. When I was 8, I tried the special makeup to hide it. And I didn't like it. It wasn't comfortable. It felt like cake icing on my face. And even, I was 8. My cousin's the same age. And I went up to him, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, what do you mean, what do I think? What's different? And he didn't see it. So I was like, well, I don't need this stuff. And so I didn't start wearing makeup till I was like a senior in high school. And so for me, on my depending on the day, sometimes I will cover my makeup with normal makeup from Target. Some days, very rarely, will I choose, I just want to be Crystal, and I will hide it maybe once a year. And some days I do what I call my half and half special, where I put makeup on my whole face, but I leave the birthmark alone. Like, my eye makeup will match, but the skin color of the birthmark will maintain itself without being covered.
Oh, you're
so
so awesome.
Day by day.
That is so awesome. That last one is, I feel all of those different things you described, but that last one, where you deliberately don't put the makeup on, and then you tie in the eyeliner or the eyeshadow, rock and roll, girl. Rock and roll all the way. Listen, I want to ask you about a couple of shows on TV. I'm not a big fan of networks like TLC when they try to do a topic, and they seem to be more interested in the television show side of it, and the significance and importance of the topic can get turned upside down. So I want you to talk a little bit about Too Ugly for Love and the Undateables.
Yeah, so about a year ago, or actually last summer, I got an email from a casting agency in London or in England, and they said, hey, we have the show for people with significant medical conditions who are looking for love. And I was like, wait, how do they even know I'm single? And so they wouldn't be direct about what the show was called, so I had to look it up on their site. And, I think in some senses the intentions are good, where they're trying to, it gets different conditions out there and more known. But at the same time, those titles, they just make me cringe every time. Like, if you want conditions to be known, include people like myself or people with different conditions, and include them on shows like The Bachelor. Don't make it stick out because they're physically different or have a condition. Include us in everything. Don't just make a special show that screams out that we're different in an unpleasant way through the title. And
right.
I just think it should be inclusive, not have your own separate thing. Don't segregate us from The Bachelor and stuff. Include us.
Exactly.
So.
And the other thing that comes to mind is they are spinning it already that it's a negative. And you don't feel it as a negative, and I love the way you're expressive through it. All right, good. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I wanted to follow up on that. I just think we do too much of this today. They pick something that they think is going to be provocative, and they kind of distort, the reality of it. So I'm glad you spoke up on that. Let's talk a little bit about bullying. I got to believe there's still somebody in a locker room somewhere in a hallway at a school who finds everything that this one's too tall, this one's too skinny, this one has a birthmark. We still are producing these people, and we're finally beginning to understand that they do damage. What's your assessment of bullying from your unique standpoint?
I think, I don't know. There are bullies in the world. I've experienced them a lot. And I realize, as many bullies as there are, there's twice as many people at least who are kind and genuine. And I think with bullies, especially when it comes from the physically different department of life, I I think a part of that is a lot of kids and a lot of people aren't introduced to people who are physically different early enough, and they're not really around it. And so I think when they see people like me, they just get uncomfortable and they don't know what to say, and they haven't experienced it. And so I even one time was at Target, and this little girl was asking Mommy, like, what happened to her face? I was like 2 feet away, and I was like, oh, I don't mind explaining it, but the mom just started yelling at her child, like yelling at her, and the kid just shrunk in the cart. And I was like, no, like, I work out of school, and I speak about this topic, like, I would love to help your daughter understand it. But she pretended like I wasn't even there, like I was invisible, even though I was just 1 foot 2 feet away from her cart. And so I think a lot of people, they just get uncomfortable, and they think either I'm going to stare at them or I'm going to look away. It's one or the other. Like, there can be a happy medium. And so I think it's just a matter of getting people comfortable with the fact that not everybody's the same, and differences are beautiful. Like, we're all different. Some of us just wear them on the outside.
Oh, so. You're the kind of kid I want my kids to hang out with.
I'll hang out anytime, anytime I'm in town.
They need to have you rub off on them. That is so awesome. What a great, I'm sure you hear this a lot from older folks, that you seem to be very mature, although you sound young. I mean, you don't sound like, 35, 40 years old. But you do, every once in a while, especially in this interview, it's come a couple of times, you shoot out these pearls of wisdom. Do you think that's another thing that you should appreciate about this birthmark, that maybe it's driven you to be a deeper person, and that is a positive in so many areas, not just the understanding of differences. You're just a deeper, wiser, smarter 24, if I'm reading that right. Are you 24?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, my God. So you're so mature. You're so centered on this. Do you think that you have some thanks there to the birthmark itself?
Yeah, I guess I would say that. I think it's not just that. I think it's a combination of life experiences because, I have the birthmark, but, no matter what you look like, you experience normal life. You experience normal life hardships and joys. And so I think it's a combination of different things. But, yeah, I've been told several times that I'm like an old soul. And so, I mean, I embrace it. I embrace that part of me, my old soulness.
Oh, you should, because I'll tell you what, you're a big help to your friends and your contemporaries. Every good group needs someone like you who's got that extra depth and understanding. All right, let's mention a couple of things here because the time is fleeting, and I'm having a really good time with your visit today. So I hope you'll come back on the show and we can cover even more stuff. But let's do this one. 5 ways to protect your photos on social media. Did you have your photos snapped up and kind of redone, and did you have to find a way to protect yours?
Yeah, so my image got stolen off of my blog, and actually I found out that a lot of social media sites with many followers hire people to look for images that could go viral, and so people are paid to, like, turn people into memes. And so I would just recommend, if you have a blog, add logos to your photos. There are pictures of people who look physically, and I don't like to use this word like this, but normal. Like, everyday people go viral, whether you're physically different, whether you're not. But so add logos to your photos and check your social media settings, and just make sure you don't add a ton of strangers. And remember, whatever you put online, it's on there forever. Even if you delete it from your page, it's on there. And so if you do go viral, that report button on like Facebook does not work. So if someone takes your image, the report button doesn't really do anything. There's a thing called the Digital Act, or the Digital Millennial Act of 1998, I believe. And so there's a separate link in which you have to go there and have proof that that was your original image, that you were the first one to share it. And so then you go from there and you start getting them removed. So it's like a whole process that I've had to learn about, and it's been really interesting. But yeah, protect your photos, don't add strangers, be wise, be safe when you're online.
Rock on. So well said. The book is called The Face That Went Viral, Beyond the Stain. And as you heard Crystal say a moment ago, she's putting the finishing touches on that. If people go to your blog on thetravelinchick.com, and I want to say that slow so people can go, www.thetravelin, not traveling with a G, drop out the G, thetravelinchick.com. Tell us a little bit about your blog.
So yeah, it started as a, hey, I'm going to travel the world one day kind of blog, and it ended up being more metaphorical of I'm traveling through life. And so I talk a lot about experiences with a facial difference and whatever pops up, but, you know, whether someone says something hurtful, and then how I usually try to find like a positive spin to every entry and try to make it relatable to people who don't have a physical difference. But I also talk about other topics like, you know, being 24 and single and, you know, trying to adult and survive in life and get through college. And so I talk about a variety of topics about that stuff, but primarily about my physical difference.
You know, it's interesting that the way you said it and the way it sounded when it came out, we've been talking very specifically about the things that make you different and how they've empowered you. But there it was in your voice when you go, you know, being single, being this, being that. The whole rest of it is still there, right? When you're living an extraordinary life, there are still the same things that other people go through, maybe not that extraordinary, are included as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You're fun. All right, look, are you hosting a radio show yet?
No, but that's on my bucket list.
I'll tell you what, make that bucket list within 5 years. Shorten the time span. Let's not wait for the bucket to come out. You need to get behind a microphone and do a show. Oh man, I can just hear it. I've been in the business 41 years. I run this network. I've been on every radio station, every major market you've ever heard of. And I will tell you, I know a radio personality when I hear one. I think you might be one. You should try it one day. You got to get behind that mic, do a little something. I really think you would love it, and I think the audience would be in love with you in no time at all.
You just totally made my day. Like, I had that dream, I think, when I was 18, because I've majored in journalism before, and, like, radio stuff, that just sounds awesome. Like, I have a God-sized dream board, and, like, that's on it. So one day, hopefully.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be soon, because it's like a freight train coming down the track. I can hear it, and I'll tell you something else. Television, right away. The whole embrace that you have of who you are, and the way it comes through to people like me in a studio, but listeners all across the country right now, I think it'd be a huge hit. And I am going to get in early on your fame and say that we would like to have you back on the show on a regular basis. I think you have so much to offer us, and I'm so grateful for how generous you were with your time today chatting with us.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. This was actually my first live radio interview, and so it's been really, really fun. So you definitely have a landmark in my life of having me on your show for my very first time, like going on a radio show.
Oh,
so
my God.
Thank you.
Oh, my God. We're such radio pals. We are
yeah,
radio.
we're like going to be BFFs forever.
That's see, and you know what? You might be the first person that ever used that BFF thing with me. I've witnessed the BFF thing my whole time of hearing it. It's always one youngster talking to another. I am proud to be a BFF for the first time.
Yes.
All right, you.
Life goals.
Here's what we're doing. We're turning everybody on to your amazing thetravelinchick.com. That's www.thetravelinchick.com. And you can also go to crystalhodges.com, which is crystalhodges.com. How was my spelling on all that?
Amazing. Good job.
You're too nice, and that means you'll be back soon. So we look forward to your return.
Well, I look forward to it as well. Thank you.
You have a great day. Crystal Hodges, and we are predicting big success in, I think, a media star right here. I think you're talking about a media star. I think you're talking about a daily radio show, people calling up and saying, you know what happened to me? You know what I got? And I do think, how many people listening now agree with me? The maturity and the depth of this young author and blogger and, great person in life, it's right there. Great job, Crystal.